Hello everyone, my name is Olivia Heil of the blog and YouTube channel Agrarian Schoolhouse, and today, continuing on this homeschooling tip idea, I want to talk to you about our math curriculum and kind of how I'm thinking about and approaching my kindergartners math. So homeschooling tip number 3 is going to be about our math curriculum, and it's going to be kind of how to choose a math curriculum in the sense that we are trying 2 different ones. I have not made that decision yet, and I'd like to share with you about the process and how I'm thinking about it. I'm very process based here with our curriculum choices. So my daughter is 3, she's almost 4, so her birthday is coming up. So she's 4, and we're working on kindergarten stuff with her. So let's talk about our math. For one, I am graduated with my master's. I started my PhD program, and it's currently on pause until a different time of life, I suppose. So I'm picky, I guess. I've had teaching courses while not in math and reading education. I've had education courses that have taught me how to and scaffolded that ability to think about curriculum and what makes something more quality than others. Very particular. I really enjoy this doing homeschool stuff. That's kind of a super fun thing for me. So let's talk about what I'm trying. First of all, the tried and true Saxon math curriculum. This is the company or the brand of math curriculum that when I was homeschooled, when I was littler, we used Saxon. Okay, so this spiral notebook is a familiar thing for me. What's nice is that Saxon goes all the way through K-12, and it's this is the teacher's guide. It's an incremental development approach, whereas others, which is the other curriculum I'll talk to you about, is more concept-based, I believe. I'll need to check the well-trained mind for how they described it. I don't have it with me right now, so that's in the other room where the children are. We are going to the children are with my husband, by the way. This is on a weekend. Okay, here is math curriculum, and what's cool about this one is that it's an older curriculum, in that I was able to get this one off of eBay for like $20, and this is supposed to last us the year. This is the home study teachers edition, and I did not get the meeting book that goes with it. So the meeting book is calendar work, and I just printed out. I just printed the paper, the calendar out, and I'm kind of doing it that way, and it's less expensive. That's what I heard from somebody else, so I can report back if that's really working for me later on, but this is what we're trying to do. And so this one we're on like lesson 8. I'll show you an example. So each lesson is typically in 2 sections, and one is the meeting, they call the meeting, which is a calendar session, and let's just jump to lesson 21 here and give you an example. So here it'll tell you lesson preparation, so materials, and then what to do in the morning. I am not great about keeping up with what to do in the morning quite yet, so it takes a little bit of preparation time if you're like copying worksheet pages in the back or whatever for your kiddo, because this text can be reused from kiddo to kiddo, which is pretty cool. And then here is your meeting script. It's scripted, which is something that I wanted because my daughter's done really well with that scripted reading curriculum, and that's been lots of fun. So this is scripted, which is cool. And then the second section is actually like the lesson piece here, and it's a scripted piece, and you're talking to your child about this is a color pattern, and you're using color cubes in this piece. So relatively short in terms of like lesson material. Okay, and then it goes on to lesson 22. And there are 110 lessons. Let me make sure I have that correctly for you. There are, I believe it maybe 119. Let's check. They have a lesson list at the beginning of the book, and there are 112 lessons. We have not done them yet because we haven't made it to that lesson yet, but there are oral assessments in the back where you work through with your child and orally assess them in their math progress, as opposed to a testing booklet that the other curriculum that I'll talk to you about has. Here is an example of the forms for oral assessments. This is like lesson 57 is this oral assessment here. Here's lesson 64. You do this oral assessment, and so on and so forth. So they have them in that format for your examinations, for your evaluating the learner's progress. So this is an incremental approach. I like how tried and true it is. A lot of people have used this curriculum, and it goes through 12th grade. So one way we're keeping track of the math we've done, and I don't think this is as up to date as it could be, or maybe it is actually. Okay, so because we're looking at incorporating two different curriculums, I've put them here along with our reading lessons. So this is just me, okay, so I have put all of the lesson numbers here, and here this is for Saxon, so it's 112, and then I have a place where you can put the date, or I can put the date of when I completed that lesson. So as you can tell, as of late, we've done more in the Singapore math, which is the curriculum that I'll talk to you about next. The Singapore math comes with a math textbook, it's like a workbook textbook, so we write in it, okay, and then the workbook itself, which is additional repetition and practice. So I have Singapore math. Okay, my list is here, and then for the textbook, this is for the workbook, and those are, you notice the list is shorter, and those are supposed to last you only for one semester, and Saxon's supposed to last you for the year. So you can see that there are more, in fact, of the Saxon lessons. Then I also just added our reading lessons that we have left in the Teach Your Child to Read in 100 Easy Lessons that we started quite a while ago. Okay, so on to the Singapore math curriculum, and one way that I've thought about and I've appreciated the Singapore math is that it's more it is more workbook focused, like there are images and drawings and things like that you can look at, whereas the Saxon math is pretty bare bones, and I think it's more oral, like you're working with your child orally, and then you're using these manipulatives. While both curriculums have manipulatives, right, I have only pieced together and bought certain things. So for example, I bought like individually the individual pieces that go with this curriculum, as opposed to buying the close to $100 manipulative math manipulative set. Likewise, the Singapore math also has a manipulative set, and I have not bought that either. So I might update you later and say like there really was a need that I needed to buy the whole set at once, but right now I'm kind of buying as we go if we need it, if it can't be made. So for example, we've worked with 5 frames in Singapore math, and I just made a couple of 5 frames out of cardstock paper that I had. So it's an example of how I've used that situation. Okay, so looking at the Singapore math books, here is your textbook KA, so this is first semester of kindergarten right here, and then this is your workbook for the first semester of kindergarten. So here are your 2 textbooks, material books, okay? This is technically the textbook, this is technically the workbook. There is a teacher's guide. I did not purchase the teacher's guide to go with this one. I could see purchasing the teacher's guide or the home educator's guide for later years, but this I think we're okay with. And I should give you some background in that we have already gone through the Master Books K workbook. And that was one other thing that gave me reason to look into these, because my daughter is used to doing workbook style math, which she would ask for to do, like she wanted to do math. And I think it was some of that workbook style that attracted her to that. Though trying a workbook for our writing, it's more workbook intensive, she did not appreciate. So maybe it's the math curriculum. We're just working and ironing it out as we go. But here is these two books, and these are super affordable. I ordered them new from the company website, and they were $13.70 per book. Okay, walking you through the textbook just a little bit in terms of format. So this only they have 6 overarching lessons, and then there are lesson parts. So for example, chapter 1, okay, and my numbering I've done on my chart is as a numbered lesson 1, or chapter 1, lesson 1, like 1-1, and then 1-2 for the next one. So you have left and right for number 1. For section 2 in chapter 1, you have same and similar. So you're working through these lessons. You've got 6 lessons. And each lesson, I'll give you an example of the first chapter. So here's an image, and your teacher's guide would probably have like, some questions or something to talk to your student about in this image. This is pointing to the left and this is pointing to the right, or this is on the left and this is on the right, or this one is larger and this one's smaller. You can be creative about that. If you're really hesitant about math, maybe you want to get the teacher's guide. Okay, here is another picture image. So notice this is quite different than Saxon, being that it's more image based. Okay, here is your image, and then it has some questions to look and talk about. Okay, and then here is an activity. These little pencils tell you when there's an exercise in the textbook. So here's another image to talk about, and this is starting lesson 2. So that short little snippet was lesson 1-1. This is lesson 1-2. Okay, and you have an exercise for lesson 2, and then you move on to lesson 3. So there are like short snippets in the textbook. Now, looking at the workbook, this is additional practice. And I'll show you, for example, the first lesson. So here is chapter 1, exercise 1, okay, with 1 page for left and right, learning left and right. Another one for left and right on this side. So 2 exercise pages to fit the 2 textbook pages. 2 workbook pages for the 2 textbook pages, unless you count the first page of that textbook that was just the image you talk about, which would have made that 3. Here is same and similar, lesson 2 or 1-2. Another same and similar, so there are 2 pages there. There is some like cutting and gluing, so here's a matrix that you're working on. So it makes the workbook a little bit more unique, compared to the textbook, which you're doing more of the teaching and talking in here, and you're teaching and talking in here as well, but this is more exercise focused. So how I'm thinking about this, I like both curriculums, and I see value in both curriculums. I also see value in, if we decide to go solely with one curriculum over another, that this is a time of trial and trying it out. This semester is when we see what curriculum we really want to invest in and make our primary curriculum. Right now, I like that Saxon is our primary curriculum that we're incremental development, see what I did there? Okay, incrementally working on here, and then to get that workbook fixed and also can have more repetition. And this is a conceptual versus incremental development. There's extra practice here. So we're going to try out both. My daughter likes working through the workbook style, so I think the maths are different enough that it's almost like 2 different subjects in a way, as compared to just you're doing a million, math books of the same kind of style. And that's where we are at with our math curriculum. So I hope that gets your wheels turning in terms of your homeschool and giving you permission to try things out and see what you like, because you get to choose. That's how we're keeping track of it there. Because I don't want to plan too heavily, I can link my planning video, or rather my record keeping video of what I've done so far with preschool, and that's just recording what she's done. I find that if I plan too heavily, then I get really picky and irritable when we're not staying on that schedule. So I really like having this flow where I write down what she's completed most of the time. If you are interested in following along on this homeschooling journey, my name's Olivia, and this is the YouTube channel for the blog Agrarian Schoolhouse. And it's where I've gotten my bachelor's and master's in agricultural education, and I'm homeschooling my kiddos now. I have the privilege of doing that in this season of life, and we'll see what future seasons hold. So, cheers.